Welcome. Willkommen. Bienvenidos. Bienvenue. Music is a universal language, just like any of those that I just spoke. And what you just witnessed today was a musical conversation between my oboe and the electric guitar, masterfully performed by Ezekiel. My name is Damián J. Thank you so much for having us here today. And it was also something called a polarized improvisation. Now, you all might be wondering, what is a polarized improvisation? But before I begin to dig too deep into exactly what that word means, I want everyone here to picture, just for a minute, a beautiful day in a beautiful square, Madrid, España, where an American tourist is lost and desperately trying to find his way back to his hotel. Excuse me, partner, you know I can get to Calle Tres Peces.
Perdón, señor.
Calle Tres, damn in Spanish. Calle Tres Peces, por favor.
Tres peces.
Yeah, that's it.
La
How
calle
I
Tres
get there?
Peces.
How I get
Usted
there?
está buscando.
I'm trying to get back to my hotel, man.
Oh, mire. La calle Tres Peces está para ese lado. Usted va
There.
a la esquina
There.
y va a su izquierda.
Leo.
2 bloques a la izquierda.
What?
2 bloques a la izquierda.
Oh, two blocks down that way to
Sí,
the left.
dos, sí.
Oh, man, thank you so much. Muchas gracias, amigos.
señor.
Now, what does this scene have to do with my performance here today? Well, if you take into account that these are two complete strangers that just came together, they connected, they found common ground, and they were able to help each other out. In a sense, the local learned a few English words just by hearing them, as well as American found his way back to his hotel. When you take that whole experience and you combine it with what you just heard, an oboe, which is a double reed instrument, it is acoustic, it is unamplified. It descends from the early shawm, an instrument that developed throughout the 1500s in Europe until 1850, where the modern conservatory oboe you see before you was finalized. It is used in symphony orchestras, classical music ensembles throughout the world. It is primarily a classical instrument. And you pair that up with an electric guitar, an instrument that is a hybrid. It's basically a take on the traditional guitar that developed throughout the 1300s in Spain up until 1936, when Charlie Christian, a jazz musician, said, hey, I want to be heard. These jazz bands, they're blowing me out of the water with my guitar. So I think I'm going to put some microphones on there, and then I could be heard. And thus the electric guitar was born and developed into what you see today, the most widely accepted instrument in music today. It's used in everything from rock to pop to jazz to even classical music. Everybody loves the electric guitar. 2 instruments, 200 years apart. Worlds of differences, polar opposites. Yet they came together in something known as an improvisation. Now you might all wonder what that word improvisation exactly means. How do musicians just kind of do this? Jam. And I'd like to break it down for you into 3 very simple and easy to understand elements that you can take with you today, making polarized improvisation an idea worth spreading. The first is the riff, the lick, or the motif. 3 words that mean the same thing. It's a short, repetitive melody, a musical sentence that is used as a starting point, that common spark where the 2 improvisers come together. Riff, lick, or motif. The riff, the lick, or the motif gives you a good starting point It gives you common ground to which to develop your improvisation or your musical conversation, as we like to say. And then that takes place that you start adding things to. That's the next event, the next element I like to talk to you about now, which is the call and response. Call and response takes us back to African drums. It takes us back to the beginnings of music and its development, primitive and throughout the world, and it can also be evidently seen in daily life as we have conversations, questions, and answers. And it's the same in music. When two musicians get together, they begin with a riff, a lick, or a motif that turns into a call and response situation, giving it a groove, a direction, a drive for which the improvisation to strive to. Now what you witnessed there is that it kind of took off. It kind of started to go all over the place. And that's where you have direction, but with deviation. Just like in any relationship that starts between two people, you have that conversation that kind of deviates, but comes back to the general purpose of going forward. And so we ended together. That's the forward part. Because the third and most important element of any musical conversation or improvisation, in any jam, you're going to have tension and release. And if you look around you and you think about your daily lives, there's lots of tension. And nowadays, very little release. But we'd like to demonstrate for you now some tension and release. And so the resolution came that there was one chord at the end of that whole driven groove, that climactic point known as the tension. There was one chord after it that resolved, gave us a sense of completion. Our purpose as musicians is to have a successful conversation. And in any conversation, you have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And thus, no matter where you come from, no matter what language you speak, you are all connected in a sense. Music is one way to illustrate it. I myself am a woodwind artist. I play every single woodwind instrument. I have since the age of 12. I've performed all over the world. Every type of music people ask me to play, I feel very comfortable just making noise with my instruments. That's my passion. While Ezekiel, in his own right, has a completely different story. He came from Mar del Plata, Argentina, when he was a teenager, and learned music here in Miami, Florida, where he was a guitarist first, a bassist, a drummer, mostly self-taught and self-driven, passionate for what is rock, pop, and Argentine national rock. Ezekiel is his own musician. Two complete opposites, polar opposites, polarized opposites. Yet we came together in this polarized improvisation. And so you see how this could apply to people in daily lives, people you might not think about engaging or connecting with. Music has always been a platform for people to meet and connect, develop strong relationships. Thus, polarized improvisation can be seen in real life. But more than that, music for me has always fulfilled my hunger. It has fed my soul. And through the most difficult times, the passing of my own mother, where tremendous grief and depression overcame my life, music gave me a sense of purpose. It gave me a way to soothe that pain, bringing me peace and tranquility. The sweet would not be as sweet without the sour. Music became the soundtrack of my life. And if you think back, a lot of emotions can be depicted through music, such as reflection. And so, polarized improvisation is more than just a musical term. It is what I would like for you to take with you today. My idea. We're spreading. The riff, the lick, and the motif is evident in society in the sense of trending topics on our TikToks and our Instagrams, things we keep talking about that come up on your feed, things that you could start a conversation with someone you might not likely start a conversation with in everyday life. You're connecting with that polar opposite through that rick, that lick, or that motif. And the same with the call and response. When you start talking to that person and further engaging, you're going to have questions that need to be answered. Call and response. And last but not least, the tension and release. Well, any relationship has that dynamic, whether it's a loving friendship, whether it's a matrimony, that roller coaster ride of emotion that at the end you kiss and make up. There's your tension and your release. You can take away from this speech what you like, but a polarized improvisation inside is inside of all of us. No matter what, during this pandemic, we have all kind of sheltered our way out of society. Following this great test of mankind, we're all looking for ways to come out of our circles and experiment, seek new, different friends. I invite you to do so. I hope these words inspire. I hope this performance inspires you. Ezekiel and myself here for you today. Seek each other out. Continue to think, to feel, to develop, to engage and connect. May a polarized improviser be born inside all of you. Thank you. Good luck. And happy jamming.